Hello, teachers. I'm sorry for the hiatus. I've been very busy this summer, but I did promise that I was going to do another video using Cidi Lab tools on Canvas, showing you how I use more complicated, or not complicated, more challenging and advanced tools within Cidi Labs to design my pages and my assignments on Canvas. As I mentioned previously, Cidi Labs is an add-in to Canvas, so your school district or your school would buy access to Cidi Lab so that you guys can do more interesting instructional design. And over here I have an example of what we're going to be making today. We're going to be making a resource page. And when I refer to resource pages, this is typically what I use to introduce some kind of assignment, or rather not some kind of assignment, but some kind of unit that I'm going to do. Especially when we're teaching virtually, I feel like this is very crucial because you can kind of compile all your content into one page instead of several different links that you would put in a module. So this is a resource page introducing my students to color theory. And as you can see, I introduce them to color theory by giving them a little intro, an image of the color wheel that is perfectly labeled with each of the colors. And I have some tabs that will take them through different color combinations, so primary, secondaries, analogous, and complementary colors. So by clicking on the tabs, the way I'm doing right now on my screen, they can kind of read more about each color combination. So I really like the tab system because it helps to compile all the information in one place, but it's not a very long page. So I like that they can kind of flip through the tabs to find out more about each individual color combination. And then before they leave the page, I want them to do a quick check, so like a very tiny quiz that kind of quizzes them on what they specifically learned about in this page. So my quick check says what category of colors sits next to each other on the color wheel. If they answer analogous colors, they get it right and they're able to move on to the next item in the module. If they answer incorrectly, I am able to put some kind of feedback, like in this case I just put read the text again, and they are unable to progress until they get the right answer. By process of elimination, obviously, if the student doesn't get the right answer the first time, they would just select analogous colors, but you are able to add more answer choices into your quick check, and I'll show you how to do that. So in this video specifically, I want to go over 5 of my favorite Cidi Lab tools and features. And we're going to use those tools and features to design a resource page. So I'm going to go into my Practice Makes Perfect course, and I'm going to add a page to my module by going to the plus sign and selecting page from the drop-down menu. And I'm going to call this one Elements of Art Resource Page. Add item. Okay, this is an empty shell, so I have to click on it. Just like always, if I want to edit a page, I have to click the edit button. Now, before I ever do anything to edit this, okay? Before I ever do anything such as write inside the rich content editor or add any pictures, whatever, I have to look for my Cidi Lab tools. You can see that I have a little icon on my right hand side, a little rocket that helps me to launch those tools. For some of you guys, it may be hidden. So if it is hidden, you're gonna hit Shift, Control, Alt, D, and it's gonna open those tools. They're kind of like hidden for most users. Now, they are completely open, and if you watch my previous video showing you how to design a home page, you know what the first step here is, and one of my favorite features within Cidi Labs. By the way, if you hear any weird noises, please bear with me. I'm a young mom and I have a 4-month-old trying to take a nap over there, but just letting you know. Alright, so the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to be adding a theme, and the theme is going to help us to create a more attractive resource page. It's going to add a title and different sections that we can identify with headings. So to find a theme, I'm gonna go right here where it says create and edit content, choose a theme. And previously, when we were designing the homepage, we selected front page, but I'm not gonna do that as I just wanna select basic page. If I just hover my mouse over any of these themes, I get kind of like a little glimpse of what they might look like. So you can hover your mouse and select whichever one fits your aesthetic. I like to go with this one called colored headings fairly often. And I also like to go with this one called flat sections. So I think today I'm gonna go with flat sections again. Now I wanna go and title it. I think I'm just actually gonna leave it at Elements of Art, Introduction Page. And under text, maybe I'll just select I will just write Art 2D. Okay, if at any point in time I want to change the theme, like if I decide this theme looks kind of boring, I can just go and select any of them, and everything that I've done so far is just gonna update to that new theme. But for right now, I'm just gonna leave it as is, and I am gonna start adding my content. So I guess adding a theme would count as feature number 1 because it's very easy to do. I'm gonna select add content blocks, and I'm just gonna, I can see that my intro is already added here. My second content block, I'm just gonna call learning about the elements of art or something like that. The elements of art. Okay, cool. You guys know that if I want to add some kind of icon to spice this up, I can go right here where it says learning about the elements of art, and next to it there's a little square that's empty. I can change the icon, which right now there's none, and look for one that relates to whatever my theme is. So since it's art, I think I'm just gonna add this little palette, and that looks really cute. Okay, on to feature number 2 that I love about Cidi Labs. So feature number 1 is obviously the themes, very easy to use. Feature number 2 is adding images with captions. And the reason why I want to caption a lot of images is because I want to explain to my students what the images actually are. So in other words, over here, I gave them an image of the color wheel, but I want them to understand why the color wheel is important. So underneath it, I put a caption that says, designers use a color wheel to make smart color choices. So it's a tool that designers frequently resource so that their colors are harmonious, and I want my students to know that. It's not just, here's a color wheel, bam, we're done. So back to my resource page, I am gonna go where it says add advanced elements. And it's gonna open to a bunch of different choices, a few of which we're gonna be using today. But I'm gonna go to where it says HTML snippets. Don't you just love that word, snippet? And over here where it says design tools snippets, I'm gonna select the drop-down menu and scroll down until I find images. So over here, I have image with caption, and I have several ways that I can make that image look. The one that I used previously, and which I like to use a lot, is called Polaroid Center. Perfect. So I selected Polaroid Center, and this is what it looks like so far. It has a random stock image that I'm going to change in just a moment, and it has an area where I can write the caption and inform my students why this particular image is important. So to change that, I click inside the image like so. I go to my Upload and Embed Image tool. Okay, so that finally loaded. I select Choose an Image and look for the image that I saved already to my computer. So I just selected an image of the elements of art that I found on Google. And for those of you guys who saw my video about using copyright images, I selected an option in Google that shows me images that I can reuse, that it's labeled for reuse. And if you want to see a video about that later on, you can let me know in the comments below. So I'm going to select all so that all the image shows, and select crop image to add it to my page. So upload and embed, and it's going to add to my page momentarily. Okay, so here's the image thus far. If you guys feel like cropping it, you can just click on it and crop it down to size if you feel like it's too big, or you can leave it whatever size it comes out. Okay, so for now, I am gonna come up with some kind of caption for this image thus far. So it has right now 8 elements of art. Maybe I might wanna put a note for my students that says something like, there are 7 elements of art that most artists, there's 7 elements of art that most artists agree upon are important. So line, shape, form, value, etc. If I was doing a real resource page, obviously I would fill it in, but right now I'm just gonna leave it as is. Okay, so that is my second favorite feature. Again, to find it, you would go to add advanced elements, then HTML snippets, then design tool course snippets, and scroll down until you find image with caption. And you have several image choices to choose from, not just the Polaroid look. I just happen to like that one. So moving on, the next thing I want to add is some tabs. Let me just check my notes. Yes, I want to add some tabs. So similar to the ones that I did in this particular resource page for color theory, so that my students can go and flip between information for different elements of art. So here I am going to close my advanced elements panel, and in order to add my tabs, I'm going to go back to add advanced elements, and this time I'm going to select accordions and tabs. So let me explain to you the difference between accordions and tabs. Tabs, you can go like this and flip through them, and accordions will be more like horizontal. So you can use either one. They're going to perform basically the same task. I just like the look of tabs better. So I'm going to select from accordion and tabs as block. Okay, and this is how it adds it. And then I can select what kind of tab or accordion I want to add. So I'm going to select tabs, and I can now start labeling it. So then maybe this one is going to be line. I'm going to go back and select add panel, and then this tab is going to be shape. Going down, I'm just going to basically do each of the elements. I could definitely add as many tabs or accordions as I want. Obviously, because I'm doing the 7 elements of art, I'm just going to pause the video for 1 minute, and I'm just going to continue doing all the elements. And we're back. I just finished adding tabs for each and every one of my elements. Now they're going to show like this in a vertical format until I save my page. So before I do that, I just want to show you guys some content that I could add to the tabs. Within the panel content, I can just erase it and maybe add some written information, such as a line is a dot that took a walk. Very common definition of line. Or I can add another image, I can add video content, I can add a file. So you have full ability to add any kind of content you want within your tabs. So for example, if I want to go in value and add a video that I found on YouTube, I would go and embed that the way I showed you in a previous video by going to share. When I go to share, I select embed and copy all this code, and then I can go within my tab and embed that in here using the tools in the rich content editor. So I'm just going to paste those, and that's how the video would show up. I'm actually gonna go and save my page so I can see so far what it looks like. So I'm gonna click the blue button to save it. Okay, awesome. And this is my page thus far. So I added a theme, which you can see with my title. I added some headings. I added an image with caption, and I added the tabs. And right now, most of these tabs are empty, but you can see that I can kind of flip through them and they'll change information. So I put a video within value. You can see the video that I embedded there. I put a definition in line. So it's a really good way to condense a lot of information so students can flip through it and see what exactly they need to learn about, and it's gonna shorten the size of the. Okay, moving on. I'm gonna go back to edit mode. So I'm gonna select the edit button. If you do not see the icon for design tools up here, remember the magic shortcut to find it is Shift Control Alt D. Okay, so now that my design tools have loaded, I can go in and start adding a little bit more content, which brings me to my favorite feature number 3, columns. And I'm going to show you guys how columns can be really helpful. So add content to my shape tab. Now, if you're an art teacher, you know there's 2 kinds of shapes. There's geometric and there's freeform shapes. So I want to add 2 columns of information, one for geometric shapes and one for freeform shapes. So to do that, I'm going to go to under add advanced elements, then HTML snippets again, then design tools core snippets, and scroll down until I see columns. Now this is going to create 2 equal columns if I select 2 columns equal. If you have 3 headings that you need to add for 3 pieces of information, you might want to select 3 columns and so forth. I'm going to keep it pretty simple and select 2 columns equal. So here are the columns. Again, it's just going to show this way, like horizontally, because I haven't added any content yet, but when I save the page, I'll be able to see that it is in a column-like fashion. So the content for this one is going to be a heading that says geometric shapes, and the other one is going to be freeform shapes. And if you're wondering what freeform shapes are, they are shapes that you find in nature, such as our hand, leaves, shells, things that you can't fit into a very specific geometric shape. Okay, so I'm just gonna add some random information about geometric shapes real quick. And some random information about freeform shapes real quick. Alright, now I want to see what these columns look like when I save it. So once again, I'm going to save my page just so that I can preview what it's going to look like. Okay, my page finally loaded, so when I scroll down, here is my image with caption, here are my tabs, and I added 2 columns to shape, and this is what it looks like. So they are 2 perfect columns. Again, if there were 4 categories of shape, I could go and add 4 columns and it would split my content up perfectly, evenly, very symmetrically, just like I like it. So I can go in and add content for each and every one of these tabs and make it as long or as short as I need it to be. But for the purpose of not putting you to sleep, I am gonna move on to one of my other favorite settings. So here we go, I'm gonna select edit to go back into edit mode. Again, Shift Control Alt D to add our Cidi Lab tools. right, cool. Now, I actually want to make sure that these students can learn this information and not just forget it as soon as they leave the page. So one thing I want to add at the bottom of my resource page is going to be a quick check, which once again is like a very short quiz that you add to check if the students were actually paying attention as they were going through all this content. So adding the quick check is going to be found once again under the Add Advanced Elements, and it has its own little panel called Quick Check. So I'm going to select Add as Block, and it's going to add it towards the bottom. And this is where I would insert whatever question I need my students to answer. So the question might be, which element refers to the way things feel? And then I can input as many answer choices as I want. So right now I have answer A, answer B. So let's say answer A is color. Answer B is line. And I'm going to add more answer choices by clicking plus add answer, plus add answer. So I think I'll just add 4. Answer C is going to be texture. And answer D is going to be value. Okay, now you're thinking, okay, you added the answer choices, so how do I tell Canvas what's the right one? If you're an art teacher, you would know the answer to this question, which element refers to the way things feel, not feel. The answer is texture. So I'm gonna go next to texture right here in my design tools, and I'm gonna click set correct answer by clicking on the check mark, and it should be green. When it's green, that tells me that I told Canvas that's the right answer. So if you actually forget to do this and tell Canvas which is the right answer, and the student does the quick check, they're gonna get all answer choices marked incorrect. So just letting you know that. And then I can go in and add like feedback if I want to. So if the student got the answer correctly and I want to say congrats, you were paying attention, I can just go and add that in. If I want to tell them, hey, you need to rate the text again, you can add in pretty much any content you want to under the feedback. So this is it so far. I'm actually now gonna move on to my very last favorite design tool feature, and that is being able to customize the color of my theme and the color of my tabs. So if you guys look over here, you guys will see that I was able to make each of the tabs a different color. So orange, purple, and then green. I want to be able to differentiate by tab color so that students know specifically what tab they're on. So to do that, I'm going to close Add Advanced Elements, and I'm going to go to each specific tab. So this one is line. I'm just going to put my mouse there, and then under Customize the Style, Current Element Style, and then I can go and select whatever color I want it to be. So let's say I want it to be this really nice green. Boom, automatically applied. Let's say shape, I wanted to get this color swatch for red, automatically applied. So you can pretty much customize the colors of each and every one of your tabs. You can also, of course, customize the color of your theme. So if I scroll up, you can see that the theme is automatically blue by default. If I click on the theme title, real quick, I'll see that blue color. So if I want the theme title to be red, for example, I can just go and apply that and customize any of the colors however you see fit. Remember that many students are visually oriented, and differentiating by colors is actually going to be very useful, especially if maybe their reading capacity isn't very high. You can tell them, okay, click on the green tab. So I definitely think this is a really useful setting within Cidi Lab, so you can differentiate by color. So I'm not going to do all of these right now. I'm just going to click save and look at my resource page thus far. Here's it. So setting number one, or feature number one, that's my favorite, being able to add the theme, because it just creates a very aesthetically pleasing page. Feature number two that I showed you is how to add the image with captions, so you can include information below the image to explain to students what they're looking at. And I selected the one that looks like a Polaroid, but there's many other image types available. And then I showed you guys how to add tabs so that students can flip through different kinds of information. And I showed you how to add columns so that you can split the content up and make it a little bit more organized and symmetrical. And lastly, I showed you how to add a quick check so that you can make sure that students are actually going through this content and understanding it, and they're not just moving on to the next part of the module. So they have to go and answer correctly before they can move on. The last thing I showed you is how to select different colors for the tabs and for the title, so that you can motivate those students who are visually motivated and help them out, especially if they are incapable of reading it. You can go to shape, that's the red tab, and help them out and keep them more on top of their game. And I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions or concerns or feedback about video options, please let me know in the comments down below. And I definitely respond to all your comments. If you want to just say hi, go right ahead. Other than that, I hope this was useful to you. Bye.